Hello Omnisphere users, Mike here, and in this video you are going to learn some super powerful tips on layering sounds in Omnisphere. Let's dive in right now. You will also get a bonus power tip if you watch to the end of this video. Now, the first thing you should really learn about layering in Omnisphere is that practically all presets already use layering inside them. And this is the A, B, C, and D layers per part here. And this is how most people use Omnisphere. So, number one, this is the first instrument or part in Omnisphere. And it uses, in this particular preset that I've loaded up, Hollywood Studio Strings section, it uses A and B as layers. Now, if I mute them, there's no sound. If I turn on A, this is the layer Atmosphere Strings Close A. So it's based on a sample, which sounds like this. A more close sound, and the B layer is Atmosphere Strings Ambient. And together they create this particular patch or preset. So that is basically the same way another synthesizer works, like this, the Legend, which is a Minimoog Model D synthesizer. You can see oscillator 1, 2, and 3. So this is a synth engine. And if I remove or mute the volume here, the first oscillator here is this one, and this setting. This one, pitched higher, an octave higher, and this one. I even detune them slightly to the left and right to, all in all, layer up like this. Like that. And that is the layers part here, the of Omnisphere. When you layer with A, B, C, and D, that is the same thing as layering oscillators. Now, the powerful thing about Omnisphere is that you do not only have access to oscillator waveforms, but samples of sounds as well, which in fact, this particular preset uses samples of real strings here. And now I'm going to show you the real super powerful way of layering in Omnisphere. It is, if you go into multi, so here you can see the mixer. This is the preset on number 1. Now you can load another one here and use these instruments as separate instruments, or you can go to this button, stack, click on this button to turn on stack mode. And as you can see, the default is that I can now load 4 different layers, which are, in fact, 4 separate instruments. Let me show you an analogy. It is basically like using the Legend and then load out another instrument and a third and a fourth, and then play them all at the same time as one huge instrument. So if I now go to number 2, I can, for example, open up the preset browser. Let's go to the pads section and load up something. Let's try this one. Gorgeous analog pad open. No, I want something more. No. Okay, so that one. Right. What do you actually hear now? Because I turned on the stack mode, and if I go to the mixer, both of these, number 1 and 2, are playing at the same time. So you stack instruments together. In this case, acoustic strings and this pad here. And then you can continue going. The default is, as I said, 4 here, but you can also set up all 8 parts like that. So now you can, if your computer can handle 8 Omnisphere instruments playing at the same time on one patch, it's pretty heavy, but let's continue. Let's use Retroland and do. So what you can do if you want to, when you explore sounds, go into the mixer and just solo one instrument at a time. So here we have this more keyboard type instrument, and all together. Let's continue stacking. Let's go to guitars and do some plucky thing. This one. Okay. And you might also want to, this is a bonus tip here. If you have everything stacked here, you can of course set the levels, because when you stack instruments, the overall level will go up. But perhaps you want to hear a bit more of this pad, a bit less of this pluck, like so. And also I recommend using panning. And now, even if you want to add extra reverb or delay with aux send effects. So let's add some reverb and delay on this pad or guitar. Mess around with the layers as you want, and then when you go in and change anything with sound design, I mean that will only reflect on this particular layer, so you can go ahead even further and experiment with the sound design on each instrument. But as you can see, it's on stack mode, and that is the most powerful form of layering I have found in any instrument ever, and of course it is Omnisphere. So now I'm actually going to give you a super deep and powerful bonus tip on using the stack mode. But before I do, please like, subscribe and share this video to support my YouTube channel so I can make more Omnisphere tips and tricks videos like this. Alright, so let's get into this. While you have this stack mode open, look at these little buttons, Notes, Velocity and CC. So I want to show you what this does. It's actually controlling when the instruments will play and the level of it. So I have soloed this first one just so we can concentrate on what it does. This is the only thing playing now. These are not playing because I have actually soloed this. Now, for the note setting here, you can set it so that if you drag this here, left click and drag, you set the range from left range. So now, if I play down here, it doesn't sound. Up here, doesn't sound. Only here in the middle, from this note to this note. Or you can set it with, if you drag the upper corner, fading in, so it's actually lower in level here. And then it gets higher in volume, it ramps up in volume. So you can set, so for example, the studio strings, let's say you can fade it out here as well, so they play loudest in this range, and then if you play higher it fades out, and as well as here. And then you can do it for another track, so let's say this pad is only playing from, let's say, here and fades up, so it's more in the higher range, and so on. Now the next button is controlling the velocity, so let's say we solo this one here, the guitar tone. Well, let's say you only want it to play at all when you press, let's say, around 50 or so in velocity. Let's fade it in. So if I play low, it doesn't sound. Like that. So that if you play something in with all this layering, let's turn on everything. Only plays when I hit those keys hard. And finally, the CC is the mod wheel here. So if we take and solo, let's say solo this pad, right, like so. Or in fact, let's solo the strings. Now, the CC mode is the CC value. So you can choose to instead have the instruments like this, so that it corresponds to the mod wheel. From nothing, let's say it starts on nothing, and then it goes down, like you can see here from this slope that you create. So you can choose how you use this in notes mode, which is the ranges you want to play, velocity, and the CC. So for example, let's say you have one of the layers being a bass. Well, obviously you don't want the bass to play above, C3 and above. So you can set it so that the note range for the bass, let's say this is the bass, starts from the low end, has a end on, let's say, C4, and then it starts fade out from C3 like this. So this could be the bass track. So now you know, this is the most powerful thing about the stack layering mode. Using all these instruments, not only stacking them up, playing the level and the panning and the effects, but also where they play in the ranges or responding to the velocity and CC values, your modulation wheel. So have fun experimenting with stack mode in Omnisphere.